within these values. Name is within this, right? So a name can be alphanumeric. It can have an underscore. Example, for example, where suppose sales underscore 2020 is equal to 4000. So this is valid. This is valid. So where underscore sales is equal to 4000. So that is also valid. So where 20 is sales equal to 4000. This is invalid. Name cannot start with the number, right? So where sales 20 May is equal to 4000, this is valid. This is valid. In between we can have underscore or number. It can end with a number, but it cannot start with a number. Variable name can start with underscore and it can be defined. So technically these all are the important rules for naming the variables. So variable name, when you are configuring, when you are defining, you have to follow all these rules for variables. Technically we need to follow all the rules for variables, right? So how to declare variables? What are the keywords used for variables, and what are the rules for naming variables? These are all the points you need to first understand about variables. I hope all points are clear to you. So about variables, declaring of variables. Next important, after understanding the declaration of variables, next you need to understand about data types. After understanding the variables, we need to understand about data types. So in JavaScript data types, JavaScript variables and JavaScript data types. So first point is clear, that is how to declare variables and what are the various keywords we have to use for variables. Depending on the situation we have to use, and what are the rules for naming variables. What are the various rules for naming variables? These are all the rules. Next, after understanding about variables, next data type. Data type, actually technically data type. What is data type? So data type is nothing but data type determines the type of value. Data type determines the type of value that you can store in a variable. The type of value that you can store in a variable. And very important, JavaScript is implicitly typed language. That means that is the data types. The data type of variable will be determined according to the value assigned. So JavaScript don't have explicit data type. JavaScript don't have any explicit data type. JavaScript is implicitly typed. Implicitly typed means you have to just declare var x is equal to 10, then automatically then x is a string, x is string number, sorry. If var x is equal to, then automatically x is a boolean. That means the data type of JavaScript variables will be determined according to value. Actually, in other programming languages, generally in other programming languages, they have to tell int x like that. So, or they have to tell like x number like that. So that means in other programming languages, we have to tell the data type, what type of data it can store. But JavaScript don't have any explicit types. We don't have any explicit types. The data type is determined according to the value assigned. So if you assigned a number, then it will be number. If you assigned a string, it will be string. If you assign boolean, it will be boolean. So JavaScript don't have explicit data type for any variable, They don't have any explicit data type. Explicit means you don't need to define any data type. Implicit means internally data type is decided. So JavaScript is implicitly typed language. Implicitly typed language means data type will be determined according to the value assigned. That is what actually the concept of data type in JavaScript. Due to that, one problem also is there. The problem is nothing but problem with JavaScript language. Problem with JavaScript language is JavaScript language is the variables are not strongly typed. The problem with JavaScript language is the variables are not strongly typed. That means not strongly typed means, so that is they allow contradictory data. Contradictory data means, suppose var x is equal to 10. That means it is initialized to number. Later I said x equal to a. That means rendering text into it. Rendering text is valid. How you can render a text if it is number initialized? So that is the problem, right? But in JavaScript there is no other way. If you don't want to store text, then you have to write a logic to verify whether the value is number or text. If the value is number, then allow. If text, don't allow. So this is problem in JavaScript. In other languages which are strongly typed, they don't have this problem, because if I declare integer x, that means I can store only integer inside it. I cannot store any another type of value. Can't store any another type of value. So that is the reason why you need to understand about JavaScript language problems also. The main problem with JavaScript language is, one of the problem is it is not strongly typed. Okay. So that is the point. For example, you see now I am using, here I am using a simple example. Suppose here we are declaring Here we are declaring var x is equal to 10 and document dot write. I will just print a simple example to show you. X is plus, I will say, type of x. I will put like this. Actually, type of x is used to print the data type of x. Type of x is used to print the data type of x. And you can see the type of x is number. The data type of x is number. Now, after initializing, I will render x is equal to a. Then automatically it will change its data type to string. That is not good because you initialize a number to store only numbers and to store only numeric values. But JavaScript is not restricting it. Then usually what we have to do, we have to write a logic saying that if it is a number, then allow. If not number, then don't allow. In many programming languages, they don't need to write such logic. They have to just tell the data type and it will strictly handle only that data type. It will not allow any another data type. But that is problem with JavaScript. So JavaScript, that is what actually it is called as. It is called as not strongly typed. Not strongly typed. They allow contradictory data. Contradictory data means a different type of data. Different type of data which is not expected. That is what contradictory means. Contradictory means. That is the example here. That is the example. So this is the problem with data types. And important, JavaScript data types are classified into two groups. Number one, we have primitive types, and number two, we have non-primitive types. The JavaScript data types are classified into two types, primitive types and non-primitive types. Remember, don't compare JavaScript with any other languages that you know. Why? Because your other languages, their intention is different, and JavaScript is little bit different. That is the reason many things will not be same like as you think that you do in your language actually. So technically we have to know in JavaScript way how JavaScript will handle them actually. So what are primitive types? Actually, primitive data types. What are primitive data types and what are non-primitive data types? That means while learning JavaScript, we should know what are the data types, primitive, non-primitive. It is important because when you know the data types, then only you can easily handle the data coming. Practically, we will see one example how the values will be coming, how to handle them. We will see one example. So primitive types, what are primitive data types means actually? Primitive types means primitive data types are allocated with the stacked memory. Stacked memory means, so it uses the mechanism last in first out. It uses the mechanism last in first out. Last in first out. Last in first out. That is the mechanism. That means the last value that goes into memory, that is the first value that comes out of the memory. And very important is primitive types. Types have a fixed range. Have a fixed range for values. Fixed range for values. That means we can exactly tell that the value will be between minimum and maximum. There is nothing like we cannot tell the range of value. That means memory is allocated. In the memory, we can tell exactly what is the range. Actually, suppose I declare, so var x equal to 10. X equal to 10. Now, important, if anyone asks like, how many numeric digits? How many numeric digits this x can accept? Actually, the numeric digits x can accept is, it can start the value. Suppose it is a number. If it is a number can have values -32767 to +32768. That means the range can be -32767 to +32768. For example, if I say var x equal to true, that means it can have only two values, true or false. That means there is fixed range for values. Fixed range for values. You cannot say that unlimited, infinity. There is nothing like infinity, unlimited. When you are allocating memory for primitive types, then the data type is fixed and the range is fixed. Range is also fixed. Data type, however, later it can handle other types also, but the range of value will not be infinite or different. The range of value is fixed. So that is what actually we call primitive types. We call as primitive types. So primitive types are stored in a memory stacked memory. Primitive type uses the mechanism last in first out. Primitive types have a fixed range for values. That means we can know exactly the range of value. We can exactly know the range of value stored in memory. And JavaScript primitive types. JavaScript primitive types. JavaScript primitive types are, we have number 1, number type. We have number 2, Boolean type. We have number 3, string type. And we have number 4, null type. And we have number 5, undefined type. These are all comes under the category of primitive types. The JavaScript primitive types are number, Boolean, string, null, and undefined. And what are these types and when to use these types? That is the point we need to know. So what are these data types and when to use these data types? We need to understand those points. Technically, the JavaScript primitive types, we have a number, Boolean, string, null, and undefined. These are all the primitive types, primitive data types. Technically, what is a number, Boolean, string, we will see when to use these types, when to use these types. So generally first important, later we will learn non-primitive types. First, what is a number type and when to use the number type? Actually, a number type, a number type is used to store, is used to store numeric value. A number type is used to store numeric value. Number is a type used to store numeric value. And important, a numeric value in JavaScript, a numeric value in JavaScript can be it can be signed integer, it can be unsigned integer, it can be floating point, it can be double, it can be decimal, it can be exponent, it can be binary, it can be hexadecimal, it can be octal. This all comes under the types numbers. Binary, hexadecimal, and octal. Binary, hexadecimal, and octal data types are introduced. Technically, signed integer, unsigned integer, floating point, double, decimal, exponent, all these comes under the category of number. Generally, what do you mean by signed integer? Signed integer means it can be signed integer means it can be minus 10 or it can be minus 10 or it can be plus 10, like this. Signed, that means those symbols are allowed, plus symbol, minus symbol are allowed. If you are writing with a plus symbol or minus symbol, then it is called as, it is also identified as number only. Minus 10, plus 10, it will identify the minus and plus as number. So that means it can be signed integer also, signed integer. So you can see here, so I am printing where x is equal to, and here where x equal to 10, and we are printing the value of x, okay, printing the value of x. So the x is equal to, I am saying x is equal to this, and here I am giving minus 10, that means it is also number, then it is a minus 10 a number. If I want to know the data type, so I want to know the data type in the next line, br plus, I will say x is and plus type of x. Type of x is used to return the data type of x. So we are printing the string x, we are printing the x value, after that line break. This you will learn in a short way how to do later. And x is what type? You can see It says that X is number type. Even if I give here signed, here I give plus 10, that is also plus 10 or 20. You can see that is treated as number. And you can see that plus value is not printed. It is positive number. But if it is a negative number, then minus value will be printed. Minus will be printed. Positive, you can write plus, but it will print just 20. So that means a number can be signed integer. You can write like this or like this. It can be unsigned integer. Unsigned integer means where x is equal to without sign, that is unsigned. No negative signs, positive signs, directly number. It can be floating point. Floating point means fraction. Floating points means fraction. That means 4.5. That is also treated as a number. It can be double. Double means x. Double means more than 2 fractions. If I give more than 2 fractions, and if I give more than 2 digits, more than 2 digits and more than 2 fractions is actually considered as double. That means more than 2 digits means 457 dot more than 2 fractions, that means 560. This is called as double. Double means it will have more than 3 digits and more than 3 fractions. Actually, see, digits dot fractions. Am I right? Digits dot fractions. If it is digits greater than 2, and a fraction also greater than 2, then it is called as double. If digits and fractions are less than 2, digits and fractions are less than 2, if digits and fractions are less than 2, then it is floating. Then it is floating point. If they are double, then digits and fractions are greater than 2, then it is treated as double. But the primary data type is number only. That means you use 4.5, then it is called floating point, but data type is number. That means now here I will write like this. Suppose 4.5. I will save this, and you can see it will print 4.5. It's number. I am entering 409 and 580, and you can see this is also a number only. And 800 is not accepted because 80 is not printed. Because if there is no value, it will not print. If I define a value, then it will print. So anything more than 2, it is considered as a double. This is considered as double. But it belongs to number only. Number has several other types again. So number means it can be signed number, it can be unsigned number, it can be floating point number, it can be a double number, it can be decimal. Decimal is nothing but where x is equal to 4 point and so many fractions. Decimal means it can allow 29 fractions. So you can say decimal places. Up to 29 decimal places. Generally, in other programming languages, the decimal places it will allow 7 or 8. After that, if you mention the decimal places, automatically it will round the values. But now the decimal places can be up to 29 decimal places. It can be up to 29 decimal places. So that is important. Right, the decimal places can be up to 29. So that means a lengthy decimal value also can be stored. For example, if I say 4 point, so lengthy decimal value up to 29. So I will refresh. You can see it can store the decimal value. It is also number only. It is also number type one. So exponent will be like this, where x is equal to 2e3. This is exponent. Actually 2e3 means 2 into 10 to the power of 3. 2 into 10 to the power of 3. That means it will be 2000. 2e3, 2 into 10 to the power of 3, then it will be 2000. That means usually exponent is having e. It doesn't mean that it is a string. It is also a number only. For example, you see here, I am writing 2e3, and you can see 2e3, it will print 2000, and it is a number. Suppose I defined as 4e2, then it will print 400, right? So 10e2, then it will print 1000. Means 10 into 10 to the power of 2. That is what actually the value is. That's how exponent is defined. So 2 into then 10 to the power of 3. That is what actually 2e3. These are exponent values. This also comes under the category of number only, right? Next important, we have binary. Actually, binary, hexadecimal, I told you, they are available from ES5 version. And generally, how hexa binary values are stored? Actually, hexadecimal. So binary means binary values are defined. Binary values are defined like this. How we define the binary values? Usually binary values, let me keep in a separate location here. Binary values, where binary values, so or simply where x is equal to binary values are defined 0b 1010. That is the binary value. So the binary conversions. Now this is the binary value. Actually 0b1010. So here I will type here 0b1010. This is a binary value, and this binary value is for 10. That is the binary value for 10, and it is also number type only. It is also number type. If I write like this, that means x is equal to 10. X equal to 10. That means this is binary type. This is binary type. So binary values usually have the values like this: 0b 1001 1100, like that. So for that, actually you need to learn binary conversions. When situation comes, I will tell you. We will discuss about that. If you know binary conversions, then you can understand about these binary types. And this also comes under number category only, number only. Similarly, suppose where x is equal to hexadecimal 0xF00D. This is hexadecimal. We know hexadecimal values. Actually, you learnt about color codes, right? We learnt about color codes. Color codes usually uses an hexadecimal value, but color codes hexadecimal value means, you know, that red, green, blue combination you have to define. Red, green, blue combination we have to define. So already I told you hexadecimal values can be defined from 0, 1, 2, 3 to A, B, C, D, like E, F, up to F you can define. So Actually hexadecimal, suppose if I return like this, that means suppose I defined 00 and FF and I defined 00. Like this we learned hexadecimal means. How to define the hexadecimal values we learned like this. Suppose I am writing like this 00FF00, like this we have defined. Now important, it will not consider this any value here. Why? Because actually that hexadecimal you learnt, it is related to colors. They usually preside with hash and we use them in colors. Already I told you that. Red value, green value, blue value, how to define them. So this is not that color value. Hexadecimal means not only color values. For color values, that type of representation is given. But usually hexadecimal means it contains like 0xf and 00d, like this. This is hexadecimal. So this is hexadecimal value and you can see it returns 61453. So that is an hexadecimal value. That is an hexadecimal value. Hexadecimal values are defined in this way. Hexadecimal values are defined in this way. And where they are used, I will tell you different ways we have to use. That means its value will be, X value will be this value, 61453. That is the X value. This is hexadecimal decimal value. And we also have octal value. Usually octal values will be 00, it will be like 00, some 744. That is an octal value. Octal value. Octal values will be like this. Usually octal values can be defined like this. So 000 and 744. These are octal values. And you can see that this will return 484. That is an octal value. How to use these values, I will tell you. So I will tell you how to use these values. That means it will be 484. And this is octal values. So but you should know that these are the new data types in JavaScript. So we have means these are the new numeric types. These are the new numeric types. So that means number supports all these types. Number supports all these types. So we have a number supporting with all these types. So number type, store numerical value, and what are the numerical values? You will see all these are the numerical values, right? These are all the numeric. It can be signed, it can be unsigned, it can be float, it can be double, it can be decimal, exponent, binary, hexadecimal, octal. All these comes under the category of number type. How to use them in programming, we will see later. That is not the point. First we need to just understand what is it type and how to deal with the number type. So this is the basic numeric number type of values, number type values. And usually when the value is coming from any control, then it is important to understand the type of value. Actually remember how to convert the values, I will tell you. Actually all HTML controls, whenever they send value directly, they will not send the value in the same format what you are expecting. Due to that a problem will come. That's the reason we have to know. So how we have to convert the other values, means string to number. How you can convert. So remember one point here. So the values from form input elements, the values from form input elements are by default string type, you have to convert into a number type, So JavaScript provides provides the following conversion methods provides the following conversion methods. A, parse int, that is an integer. Another one, parse float. These are the conversions. Why? Because when value is coming from any control, then usually what happens is the value that coming from any control, by default it comes as a string. Because for example, you say input type is equal to text, and here value is equal to 10. It is a string type actually. Suppose we have option. In the option we have value is equal to 40. This is also string. If you put in double quotes, it is a string type. Then what we have to do, we have to convert them into number. For that we have to use parse int for integer, parse float for floating point and decimal. That means if you are having a value, for example, remember, suppose if value is coming like this, 4.5, then usually what you done, parse int 4.5, that is the string value, then it will return 4. It will not convert into number floating point 4.5. Why? Because int means it will not allow fraction. Then exactly you have to do, then we have to use a float, then it will return 4.5. This conversion is very much important later when we are working with the design. The values, when they are coming from other controls, generally they will come in a string form only. We have to convert the string into a number. For that we have these two methods, parse int and parse float. How to use them later, I will tell you in example how to deal with that, right? This is the number type of JavaScript, how to deal with the numbers. Now similarly, boolean type, string type, null type, undefined type, that we will discuss in tomorrow's session, right? Then we can finish the data types concept of primitive types tomorrow. Then we can try some examples also. I will give you how to deal with the examples with these points, right? We will see that. And tomorrow onwards our session will be here. Don't share this IDs to anybody. You will only face the problems in later, because all other unnecessary people will log in and it will create heavy traffic for you, and you will face the problem if you are sharing this ID to others. That is the reason we have to change this, right? So if you are not sharing this, then it will be good for yourself. Otherwise later you will face the problem in network and trafficking, right? So you will get so much problem that you will not able to hear properly, breaking of voices and all right? So make sure that you are not sharing